The Ford Falcon station bus and club wagons of the Econoline series. The Chevy Greenbrier. The year was 1961. And two of the big three American automakers had passenger vans based on newly developed multi-purpose utility vehicles. But what about number 3? Where was Chrysler? 3 years later, their new vehicle made its debut. And some would describe it as the most cartoonish van of all. This is the story of the Dodge A100 Sportsman. The van that was late to the Microbus party.
Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, in a couple of previous videos, we had seen how both Ford and Chevrolet entered the multi-purpose van market in the very early 1960s, which also included a passenger microbus version. But where was number 3? Where was Chrysler? Were they also going to enter this market? Yes, they will. It's a really fascinating story, so let's get started in learning about the Dodge A100. Can the big three American automakers eventually fully cover the growing 1960s passenger van market? The Ford Falcon station bus and club wagon, and then the Chevy Greenbrier. Introduced to the public in late 1960, these two vehicles that carried 8 and 9 passengers respectively accounted for 2 of the big 3 U.S. automakers, with vehicles that would be competitors to the VW Microbus, which made its debut a decade earlier. But what about the third U.S. auto giant? Chrysler. Well, it would take a few more years for number 3 to eventually join the American microbus party. With the Econoline selling like crazy, it was almost a requirement to provide an offering in this segment of the market, even if you couldn't quite beat the Econoline. By the mid-1960s, compact vans of simple construction, box-like appearance, and highly space-efficient were becoming popular with tradesmen, families, small businesses, and even customizers. It was a true example of the phrase, "form follows function." Not wanting to be left out, it would be up to Chrysler's Dodge division to finally develop their own multi-purpose utility vehicle to compete with the other offerings of the time. Dodge would base their new multi-purpose van on the Chrysler A platform. This was the basis for smaller rear-wheel drive cars in the 1960s and are sometimes referred to as A-body cars. Models using the A-type platform included the Dodge Dart, the Plymouth Barracuda, and the Plymouth Valiant. It would also be utilized for non-US models such as the DeSoto Rebel of South Africa. This would help in keeping costs and weight down for their new van. The 1960s saw the Ford control revolution, where the driver sat directly above the front axle, sometimes with the engine packaged between the front seats, such as in the Econoline. Dodge's new multi-purpose vehicles would end up having a similar configuration to that of Ford's. And in 1964, it was ready. The lineup would consist of a utility van, a pickup truck, and of course, a passenger vehicle. And so, what would this new Dodge Microbus be? It was the A100! The passenger versions of the A100 were to be known as the Sportsman models and would become popular with families, municipal fleets, and businesses of every description. Without doubt, the A100's most recognizable feature was its short, snub-nosed profile with bulging headlights, giving it a cartoonish but endearing appearance. And even Disney immortalized the A100 Sportsman in its Cars movies as Dusty Rustys. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of the Dodge A100 Sportsman. Number 1, length is 14 feet 3 inches for the A100 and 15 feet 9 inches for the A108 extended version of 1967. Number 2, width is 6 feet 7 inches. Number 3, height is 6 feet 5 inches. Number 4, weight is approximately 3,000 pounds, with the A108 being about 200 pounds more. Number 5, passenger capacity is 8 for the A100 and 11 for the A108. Number 6, engine is the Chrysler Slant 6 of 170 or 225 cubic inches, or the Chrysler Light A of 273 or 318 cubic inches. And finally, number 7, top speed was often 70 miles per hour, but speedometers went up to 100 miles per hour. While quite basic looking, the A100 had features not found in the typical light truck of the era. Edward M. Garland, an automotive engineer at Chrysler in the 1960s, explains,
Unusual features of the A100 included alternators, an oil bath air cleaner, bigger brakes by far, and the only heavy-duty 3-speed manual transmission in the compact truck field, and of course the larger gas tank of 21 gallons, bigger than any other compact truck available at the time. Inside, the passenger model offered basic accommodations, but owners loved its airy cabin and the ability to configure seats for family use, shuttle service, or recreation.
The A100 platform remained largely unchanged throughout its production run from 1964 to 1970. In 1967, the A108 made its debut with an additional 3 seats and a longer 108-inch wheelbase, as opposed to the standard 90-inch platform. And like its competitors, these Dodge vehicles could be customized to be a camper van. By 1970, the A100 had run its course and wouldn't return for the 1971 model year. Though they were never a sales home run, these vans did have a following. Close to 90,000 A100s and longer wheelbase A108s of both utility van and passenger varieties were sold in 1968 alone. In 1971, Chrysler replaced the A100 with the all-new Dodge B-Series, a more conventional long-nosed design that would dominate the van market for decades. Funky, compact, and full of character, the A100 remains one of the most distinctive vans ever built. A time capsule from the era when American automakers weren't afraid to experiment. Dusty Rustys would surely be pleased. And so there it is, the story of the Dodge A100 Sportsman, the microbus that became a cartoon character. So, do you have any stories about this type of passenger van? Just let us know. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Dodge Sportsman A100. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.